A severe weather threat is looking more likely later this week in the east. Meanwhile, another atmospheric river takes aim at the west coast, and blizzard conditions unfold across portions of the plain and Midwest. I'll have all the details on today's Cold Rains Weather Blitz. You're in the zone, and we are off.
Set condition 1, SQ for WSRT. This is the captain.
Another week of active weather is on tap as this wild march continues. We've got tornadoes, high winds, severe weather, of course, blizzard conditions, and an atmospheric river, and we're going to get into all of it. I'll have timestamps for each segment in the video description, so you can just skip right to what's most important to you. But we're going to start, as always, with our 2-minute drill, where we talk about the current weather and the weather over the next couple of days, so that if you don't have time to watch the whole video, you can get right to what you need to know to be aware of what's coming up over the next couple of days as you head through your work week. Now we're going to start with our satellite picture, and you can see a couple of important systems showing up off the west coast. This little swirl just off of California is bringing some showers down here. It is going to slide across the country and be an important piece of what will eventually become a severe weather potentially outbreak over the central and eastern portions of the country. That's going to be driven by this strong system, as you can see, taking aim at the Pacific Northwest today. A strong trough is going to move onshore, and a strong jet stream is going to move along with it and carve out a big trough here in the central portion of the country that creates a very intense cyclone over Colorado and moves on off toward the lakes. And that's going to spawn all kinds of weather hazards, and we'll get into that in a minute. But you've got some high clouds streaming across the northern tier of the country, a couple of little systems up here bringing high clouds and light precipitation to some areas. And then we've got this swirl that affected much of the southeast over the last couple of days. It's moving on off into the Atlantic, and that will get out of our hair, but it's just a little low pressure system that's developed there. And then our radar image is fairly tame. We've got some showers working in with that system into California, some other showers, and maybe some light snow up in the higher elevations up here in Seattle, light snow and rain across Montana, and really nothing else across the entire country. It's going to be a nice day for most of the country. Temperatures are starting out on the mild side. We can see 40s and 30s across the border, with some 20s up here in the northern plains, 30s up into northern New England. Everybody else is in the 50s, approaching 60 in spots, especially as you get on down into Florida. So it's going to be a nice, mild day across the country. Time to enjoy that weather when you get off work. Now, on Wednesday, the National Weather Service, or the Storm Prediction Center rather, has issued a slight risk over the Arklatex for severe weather. That system that we looked at on satellite is going to trek across the southern tier of the country. There's going to be a little bit of instability here, some cold air aloft, so that's contrast is going to give you a potential for some severe weather with mainly wind and hail. No real tornado threat here, not a big severe weather outbreak potential either. That slides off into Mississippi and Alabama, and the threat seems to be reduced there as we get into Thursday and Friday. But that's just a table setter, folks. We've got the main event coming up later this week into Friday through the weekend, and we're going to take a look at all of that here in just a moment. Now, your surface map, your nice little Atari surface map, most of the activity is centered on the west coast, with the system off the southwest and the system off the northwest. A little chillier up here across the northern plains into the Great Lakes behind this cold front. Everybody else is nice and mild today. Tomorrow, as we get into the afternoon hours, you'll see that severe weather threat develop out here. Critical fire conditions down in Texas, where it's very dry and the winds are picking up. Those systems continue. That system up in the northwest continues to move on, and you'll see a large area of heavy snow, rain along the coast, mixed precipitation into the Intermountain regions, and then a little clipper bringing some light snow up into the northeast. As we get into Thursday afternoon, really starting to see things take shape out here west. We've got a large area of precipitation. Not everybody's going to see rain or snow, but certainly there will be spots of precipitation out here. The higher elevations are going to see snow, and some areas are going to see very heavy snow up into the Rockies and the Sierra Nevadas. You guys are going to pick up plenty of snow there. Just some showers and storms possible in the Tennessee Valley and the lower Mississippi Valley. And so you're going to see potential for some snow there, or thunderstorms there, and then a little bit of shower activity, or potentially mixed with snow up here in New England. Now, our temperature outlook for the next couple of days, pretty much a carbon copy of the today, and the next 3 days are all going to look about the same. You've got a little chillier weather up here in the Rocky Mountains and the Pacific Northwest. Chilly across the border, if you can call it that. It's actually above normal for your area for this time of year. And then 60s and 70s, even 80s down here in Texas today, this afternoon. Tomorrow, much of the same pattern. Chilly out west, chilly across the border up into New England. That's going to moderate as we get through the week, and then 70s and 80s across the southern tier of the nation. And then Thursday afternoon, same story. The return flow ahead of this new trough that's forming out here is going to bring up mild conditions and dew points out of the Gulf to some of these areas to set the stage for severe weather later on in the week. So very mild for much of the nation. This will continue through the week and into the following week. So we're going to see mild east, cool west as we get on out in time. But that is your 2-minute drill, and so hopefully that helps you out as you go through your work week over the next few days. So now we're going to turn our attention to the main event, which is the big event that everybody's been talking about, this severe weather episode that could take place in the central and eastern part of the country as we go through the end of the week into the weekend. We're going to look at that. We're going to talk about the storm, this anomalously strong storm system that's developing and how it all plays together with it. We're going to look at the cold side of the storm. There's going to be some snow, blizzard conditions, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with a look at what's happening in the Pacific and all of the energy and storms that they're crashing into the West Coast, bringing lots of rain and snow out there, and our long-range outlook. We'll take a look at all of that. And again, I'll put timestamps in the description of the video so you know exactly where to go to for all of these things. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give it a like if you like it. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified as I put these videos out. We're going to cover all of this stuff through the course of the week. Leave a comment in the comment section, a question about the show, a question about meteorology, a prayer request. I'm always happy to pray over anything that's going on in your life. So let me know, and I'll respond to each and every comment. Thank you again for being here. So without further bloviation on my part, we're going to get into it. So the National Weather Service, the Storm Prediction Center, of course, puts these maps out, and day 4 is Friday into Saturday. They've already got a big bullseye of 30% here. It's pretty uncommon for these things to get put out like this far in advance. Only when they have high confidence a severe weather threat is on the table do they do this. And so Missouri, really Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee into Illinois, you're looking at a big bullseye of 30% chance of severe weather Friday to Saturday, and a larger area extending from Minneapolis, Wisconsin, all the way down to Louisiana. Day 5, Friday into Saturday into Sunday. That bullseye shifts east covers most of Alabama, portions of Mississippi, and Georgia, Tennessee, and then the 15% extends all the way up to the Great Lakes from the Gulf Coast. So, and then on the 6th, so Sunday into Monday, as we suspected yesterday, this threat has shifted to much of the eastern seaboard from the Gulf all the way up into the mid-Atlantic. And so we'll have to see how this portion of the severe weather threat plays out. There's some question marks about when the line of storms is going to come through and kind of what mode the severe weather takes. Tornadoes, hail, high winds, all the above. We'll have to look at that and understand details that we just don't know yet. So anyway, the whole basically south central portion of the country is under the gun with severe weather threat later this week. We're going to start here with our upper level anomaly map, and I'll show you this just to show you a couple of things. Heights way up here at 18,000 feet, 500 millibars, and the energy at that level too. So this shows you a couple of things that are important to know. Focus mostly, so these blue areas are below normal heights, and you see this little contour here. That is our low pressure that's developing at the surface that is going to move up and bring all of the severe weather. So we've got low heights here out west, high heights up toward New England. Now watch these high heights up here. This is sort of indicative of a little bit of a blocking pattern. So as we go out in time through Saturday into Sunday, look how these heights strengthen. What that does is it sort of acts to block this system in place. Instead of having everything kind of blast through in a day and a half, it ends up slowing things down, and with energy rounding the base of this trough, you're going to get a secondary area of low pressure somewhere over the Gulf that develops and moves up northeast across the southeast. And so that's going to enhance the severe weather threat and potentially a flooding threat too, where cells train over each other. And so this block is acting to keep our threat make it kind of a multi-day threat. So we're going to watch how all of that unfolds over the next few days, but I wanted to show you that. And our energy map as well is important to know as well. So back here on Friday and Thursday and Friday, you can kind of see our initial system scooting by, and then the main event comes on shore. Big trough crashes on shore, and you see these reds. This is just spin in the upper atmosphere, creating surface low pressure. And look at this, it develops a couple of contours here. Hard to see those, but you trust me, there's a couple of contours. That's a really strong system, very negatively tilted, meaning it's a very strong system, and you've got all this divergence, this lift in the upper atmosphere, and the storm is deepening rapidly. It's going to get down into the 970s. And then behind that, as it kind of goes north and gets blocked by this ridge, this other system kind of digs in. You got this powerful jet up here, and it's creating a secondary area of low pressure along the coast. We didn't have this with the last system. Everything just kind of scooted through with a cold front. So we're going to have another area of storms break out. This one could potentially be have the most potential for tornadoes over Mississippi, Alabama, into Georgia. So we're going to watch this all unfold, and then everything eventually scoots out and moves east. The map that we've been looking at last couple of days, this is the ensemble mean of the European ensemble mean. A lot of members showing pressure in blue that is 980 millibars or less. Green and then gray are less less intense cyclones, but in any event, this is very, very strong. And the members are actually, many members now are seeing pressures in the 980s, and so it's almost a lock that we're going to get a mid 970s pressure. And by the way, I mentioned yesterday that this is as strong as a hurricane. Hurricanes and mid-latitude cyclones like this one is are different beasts. So the wind around, the wind energy in the atmosphere just operates differently because the storm structures are different. Hurricanes have a very tight core. All that wind spins really tight, gets translated down onto the ground, and so you get these high winds in a very small area. With the mid-latitude cyclone, even though you might have the same pressure, it creates this sort of gradient wind effect where you get lesser winds but over a larger area, just because the pressure gradient is so big. And so we've got a very, very strong system, the equivalent of the pressure of a Category 2 hurricane, but the winds are going to be strong, and but not quite as, you're not going to see 100-mile-an-hour sustained winds here, but you will see winds over a large area. And so if we take a look at what those winds look like, if we come in here Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, let's go ahead into Friday, where the main event starts to take place. That low starts to deepen. You've got winds coming in here. These are 40. The greens are 40s. Oranges get into the 50s. And so look what happens Friday afternoon. Boom, over Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, Oklahoma, Kansas. Winds in the 50s and 60s, potentially as high as 60, 70, maybe even gusts into the 80s in some spots as the cyclone really wraps up. They diminish over time, and then you start to get these little max areas where the jet is strong aloft, and mixing happens. And over here on the cold side, you've got snow falling. That's going to occur as this cyclone wraps up. You're going to have snow on the backside with strong winds, blizzard conditions. It's not going to be a lot of snow. We're talking, maybe 2, 4, 6 inches of snow, but hey, it's going to be falling with high winds. And then you get secondary wind field develops as that new low pressure develops and swings off to the east. So could see gusts into the 50s across a large portion of the United States. I expect wind advisories and high wind warnings will be issued as we go through the week. Now, looking at some instability parameters, we'll take a look at our dew points here. Dew points surge in ahead of this thing on, so we're looking at Thursday afternoon, Friday. So you've got dew points into the 50s, making it all the way up into, really up into Iowa here, 60s along the Gulf Coast. Those really shoot up in advance of that secondary area of low pressure as you get into Saturday, Sunday. See those dew points back here? Look at this, 68, 68, 68, near 70 in portions of Louisiana, and you get on into Mississippi and Alabama. This pivotal kind of jumps around with me a little bit, and we'll get on a better display so we can see the whole thing here. And so that shifts on off to the eastern seaboard. So you got dew points in the Carolinas and Virginias into the 60s. That's good enough for thunderstorm development and potentially severe thunderstorm development with instability. It just depends on when that line works through in terms of the heating of the day. And so we're going to watch that. Another severe weather index that we don't really we look at CAPE a lot. So this is CAPE. And so CAPE, we need instability, and CAPE is a measure of instability. And so you can see that instability kind of working in as we get on into Saturday, Sunday, As that storm system kind of moves out, you get a little bit more Cape reflected over into the Carolinas. The GFS here is not showing a ton of Cape. I think this is underdone. I think we'll end up seeing more instability than this. But that again, the focus and the timing is Saturday into Sunday in this area, Friday into Saturday, and back here in Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois. And so we're going to be watching how instability unfolds. And then kind of the last parameter I wanted to show, you don't see this a lot, but this is called the Energy Helicity Index. And so what it does is it combines, I'm going to back it up here. What it does is it combines Cape and turning with height over the lowest portion of the atmosphere to give you an idea. Is the atmosphere conducive to developing supercells and eventually tornadoes? And if you get a parameter reading more than 2, the answer is yes. If you get a parameter reading over 4, then you have an environment capable of producing strong to violent tornadoes. So looking here as we go out into the yellows, by the way, represent 2. So anywhere where you see yellows, that's 2. And you even get into some 3s here where the oranges are. So this is Friday into Saturday. And so you can see that move east. But look what happens Saturday evening. Look at this. You get big areas of, there's this big area of 2 and a lot of areas here in 3 to 4. So you have some areas here in Alabama and Mississippi over 4. So the environment could be that we could see some violent tornadoes in this area. Now, there are other things that could limit that. I mean, if there's clouds, it could limit the instability. If there's lift and precipitation that's out ahead of the environment, it could kind of work over the environment a little bit and change some parameters so you wouldn't necessarily see a big tornado outbreak. But this is concerning when you start to see these values. So we're going to watch that and see how it plays out over the course of the week. Too soon to tell just yet exactly, but those are things that we're watching. If you look at your surface map here, this unfolds Friday. This low pressure starts to get its act together over Colorado. This Colorado low really develops, gets down into the mid 970s. That is really, really strong. Thunderstorms start to break out Friday afternoon and in the evening into Saturday, and you've got snow on the backside with strong winds. Look at those isobars, very tightly packed, very strong wind gradient here. And then that secondary area of low pressure forms along the Gulf, enhances the flow out of the Gulf. Very cold air aloft helps to create, just magnify that instability, and you get looks like what's the model's trying to represent is supercellular structure here. Which, if that happens in that kind of environment, you could see some long track tornadoes. So we're going to be watching all of that. But anywhere from essentially Missouri to Arkansas over to Illinois, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida, back into Louisiana, all of those areas are game for at least a high wind threat, if not a tornado threat too. So this is a little bit different than the last setup because we've got this secondary wave of low pressure. That line eventually moves on through Saturday into Sunday, Sunday into Monday. It reforms. We're looking at overnight. This is overnight Sunday night, but depending on when this comes through here, it could be cool because it comes through in the evening, or it could be warmer than that. So we're going to just look at all of that, and we still don't know yet the exact timing of that. That's quite a few hours out. We're talking about 5 days out, 5 to 6 days out. Now, looking down the road a little bit, that's kind of the severe weather threat. Looking down the road a bit, you see this big area of this is our jet stream. So I'm going to roll this back to our current storm system here. So this is coming. This is what we're looking at later this week. Our storms coming on shore, but this is the jet stream pattern. And look at this. What I want to show you is how these systems just continually crash into the West Coast, where you've got these big U shape. This is where you have storms. Here's another one coming in. Look at that, crashing right into the West Coast. More rain, more snow out there. Translates across the country, more storms for the central and eastern portion of the country. Here comes another one in, and another one after that. And there's just no sign of this letting up. You've got northern branch, southern branch. You've just got jet activity after, storm after storm after storm just crashing in. So very wild March, active pattern. Stay subscribed to the channel. I'll keep you updated on all of that. What about weather at the surface? So we've got our big storm over the middle of the country later this week. We saw this a while ago. Storms move off the coast, and then look, the next one comes in. Another big storm forms here. Snow on the backside. Storms out ahead of it. It races off to the east. A new storm forms in along the southern branch of the jet stream, bringing some showers and storms to the south. And then another storm forms over Texas. Maybe you can get some rain into South Texas here. And then that scoots on off with thunderstorms and, just one after the other, just crashes into the West Coast. You guys are going to get a lot of rain. If we take a look at the rainfall footprint, heavy rains and snows out west. These oranges represent, this is the European ensemble mean, oranges are representing here. Sorry, let me go back to our European ensemble mean. Yeah. So orange is representing like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches of rain. When you get into these oranges, you're looking at 9, 10 inches of precipitation. That's going to equate to feet of snow up in the coastal range and the Cascades and the Sierras. Several inches of rain are going to fall over the next 2 weeks. Out here in the valleys and the metroplex areas. Rainfall footprint over the east is strong, so above normal precipitation here as well. And then as far as temperatures go, warmer than normal. So if we're looking at you starting off day 5, day 6, these are 5-day averages. So this is just averaging it out. So we're kind of smoothing out the variability, but cool in the west, warm to very warm in the east. Maybe it backs off a little bit, but you're looking at a warm east, cool west pattern as far as the eye can see. Winter is over, spring is here. The Climate Prediction Center has issued their new 8 to 14 day outlook. Just what you saw on the map before. Warm in the east to very warm, and then cool out west. Precipitation wise, wet in the west, wet central to east. In the Central Plains, the probabilities are near normal, so it's hard to make a determination. And still below in Texas and South Florida. Hopefully we can change this pattern around because it's so dry for you guys. Critical fire conditions exist out here. So that's your weather roundup for today, and hopefully that helps us out. I'll continue to post videos throughout the week as we know more about the severe weather threat, but it could be the potential is there for this to be a significant severe weather outbreak for some portions of the country and windy for many, many areas of the country. So we'll keep our eyes on it. Check back in, stay subscribed to the channel, and make sure that you are weather aware as we head into the end of the week. So that's all for today, folks. I hope you've had a good time here with me, and we'll be back tomorrow with another video. And as always, this is Cold Rain reminding you that if other stations run 24/7, we'll do it 48/14. So you take care, everybody, and have yourself a great afternoon. We'll see you.